Good morning and welcome to another episode of Marketo-Fu. My name is Joe Reitz, and what we will talk about on this episode is just basic ad tracking via Marketo. Something that, now that Marketo has announced at Summit that Ad Week is going to be there to talk about kind of the role in ad tech, I was kind of inspired to share a brief anecdote and, just a quick tutorial on how to set up ad tracking within your instance. So a lot of marketers, basically every marketer I know, I think, does some kind of online advertising, whether it's a online banner ad or paid search via like Google AdWords or something like that. Everybody does it, or like a retargeting thing, even if it's through a platform like AdRoll. Being able to track advertising online is through Marketo is a amazing tool and capability to prove not just how effective your programs are, but really digging your hooks into ROI and lead acquisition and that kind of thing. So one anecdote I will share, I'll share it now. One anecdote I'll share is not to make it a Fathom commercial, but we've had a client recently that did some basic ad tracking like I'm about to show you. And when we were pulling some marketing influence data on opportunities created and revenue won, we found a very cool case study or success story of someone that was basically a dead lead that ultimately ended up kind of getting reinvigorated by clicking an ad, filling out a form, requesting more info and contact. And in a very short window of time, that lead actually converted to revenue in the millions of dollars. So for that effort of a couple dollar investment of a click via an online ad, we were able to track that whole accelerated trajectory through Marketo and say marketing did that. So that's a very extreme example, and it was a very high value deal, but this is how you set it up. So I'm going to kick this over to Marketo now. There we go. And in my instance, before I show you the actual program setup, one thing that I think you should double check is that in your channels, you want to make sure you have a online advertising channel tag. And as far as like progression statuses go, I like to keep things simple. Just clicked ad and success filled out a form. One thing to know with how Marketo is going to help you do this is you're only going to be able to track info on known leads, meaning you've got their cookie, they've clicked the link in an email or filled out a form. Otherwise, you'll never know that they even clicked the ad if they didn't fill out the form. If they fill out the form, they become a known lead, no issues. But so make sure you have that. I like inclusive because even if period costs aren't there, it'll still show up in RCE reports. But then, back over to the actual program setup. So I built a default program. I have a whole separate folder for online advertising. I can track all my ads in separate Marketo programs. Similar to how we would normally encourage a best practice setup, we do progressions. We have a whole sequence of folders to work through. So first thing is you set progressions, and then you build any assets you might need, and then any kind of triggered campaign response. So in the example I'm going to talk about is a hypothetical one, but last year, leading up to Marketo Summit, Fathom did a promotion around, hey, stop by our booth, and prior to the show, we'll if you fill out this form and make an appointment, we'll even send you a pair of our swag socks, which are actually pretty sweet. So not sure if we're doing that again this year, but what I want to say is, as a just to measure the effectiveness of the ad, if we wanted to do something like that again, this might be how we would set it up. So because this program is already created, I'll just look at the setup tab real quick. Channels, online advertising, and I dragged in a period cost. And what you want to do here, just to help you build that sense of ROI later, is whatever your spend is on the ad and however long it runs, make sure you're adding that in. If you run it monthly, add the monthly period cost, and then we'll be able to later attribute out the successes multi-touch wise appropriately. Okay. So that bit of business aside, like I said, progression statuses, assets would be like emails, follow-ups, like triggered, and then the things that send them. Oops. So that should be there. As far as the progression statuses go, this is actually really simple. So first, these are out of order. But if I were to reload, Okay. So first things first. So what I want to do is turn this progression status on for, they're a member of the program. And what I'm doing to trigger that is simply they visit the web page. It's, in this example, it's going to be a Marketo landing page with a Marketo form on it. And if they just visit the page and you're going to use a query string for your UTM parameters, and this happens to be the UTM parameter we're using for this is the campaign. Could be anything, but you want to make sure that this says contains, and then you do something like that. Okay, and then the flow, it's a very simple, just change program status to online advertising, clicked add. Again, this is only going to capture info for known leads. If they're unknown, sorry, you're going to be out of luck. But this isn't the really big one because it's not a success status. The biggest one is the filled out form. So similarly is when they come to that page, you're going to have a trigger for fills out form. If you have a specific form you use, great. If you don't, just use any. Like most instances I've architected or worked with, there's a couple templated forms. It could be one of several. So it's just easier to say form is any, landing page is whatever, or web page is whatever the landing page name is. And then again, the query string for the campaign. If you have these constraints, it makes it very easy to know that, yes, this success was a result of that ad. And then for the flow, I just do two quick things. One is adding the success. So again, program success is what drives multi-touch attribution. So that's a very important thing to make sure you're setting across all your programs is the proper progression statuses. And then, I added an interesting moment for, something a salesperson might be interested to know is that, hey, they filled out a form to get swag. It's not super high qualified necessarily. Last year when I filled out the form, I just wanted the socks. I ended up being some kind of super MQL because a month later I was actually working for Fathom. But just as an example of information you can communicate up to the sales force. And then I don't have anything built out in these asset and sending campaigns folders. But what I want to highlight here is, like, if you have success in the campaign or in the program, maybe there's a follow-up message you want to do, or maybe there's something even outside this program you want to do. Maybe you something I would have done in a past life, and this will depend on your strategy, is if they filled out the form and say there's some hidden fields in the form or another field in the form for interest area or industry or something like that. Something cool you could do here, and that I would encourage, is add them to an engagement program that you may have set up throughout your instance that would be relevant to their needs or interests. And then you just pick the stream and say, whatever stream name, stream 1, 2, 3, whatever. So and if there's anything else you want to add them to, you could add them to other programs, add them to lists, whatever else would be useful for your flow. But that's essentially the nuts and bolts of it. So where am I at? Okay, so tracking advertising through Marketo, super simple to set up, very, very effective for just measuring lead generation and ROI later. It's a very easy thing to get good multi-touch attribution data on. So hope this video has been useful. We'll talk more about advertising very soon, and especially leading up to Summit, where, like I said, Adweek is going to be presenting kind of the role of ad tech moving forward. So looking forward to that, and looking forward. This has been the 30th episode of Marketo-Fu. So please keep your ideas and questions coming, and anything we can cover on a future episode, I would love to dive in. So, all right, until next time.